Welcome everybody to IRISSCON 2017. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to be here. And as Gordon says, I sincerely hope it's going to be of benefit and of value to you all. Normally when I give my talk each year, I talk about the number of incidents and issues that we've responded to during the year at IRISSCON, but I'm not going to do that this year because, quite frankly, it's the same talk every year. Just the numbers changed and they just keep going up. So I'm just going to maybe, as Gordon said, focus on why are we here? You know, Einstein has said that repeating the same thing over and over again is the definition of insanity. So do you have to be crazy to work in InfoSec? I think at the moment where we look at stuff, the answer is probably going to be yes. And I'm going to go talk through a few things to highlight that. So Verizon, those of you who are not familiar, are a US telco data center company. Each year they have their Verizon Data Breach Investigations Report. I'd recommend everybody to read it. It's an excellent report. They take information in from different companies around the world. I'm delighted to say IRIS is one of the companies. So each year we submit all the issues that we have worked with into Verizon. And likewise, US Marshals, the US Secret Service, FBI, Europol, Australian Federal Police, the Portuguese Police, Deloitte, Ernst & Young, FireEye, every major organization working in cybercrime in the world gives their incident data into Verizon in an anonymous format, and Verizon analyzes it and then put back out what's happening, what are the trends that they see in the industry, and why, you know, the majority of us work in cybersecurity. We all like the tech. The APTs and the 0 days and all that sort of stuff sound really cool and sexy. This is kind of telling you really what's going on out there. So if you want to see who's behind the breaches, 75% of attacks are from outsiders. So no big surprise there, but I think anybody who reads statistics, sometimes you read the numbers in the opposite way. That means 1/4 of your attacks are from an internal. And that can be either deliberate attacks by your employees, it can be mistakes by somebody clicking on a link or emailing stuff to the wrong person, or it can be somebody who has been convinced or social engineered by criminals to assist them in their attack as well. 81% of hacking-related breaches are down to poor passwords, reusable passwords. It's not 0 days, it's not APTs, it's password 1. Actually, the LinkedIn breach, the most common password in LinkedIn was 1234556. Yeah, so people are using that. The second most common one actually was LinkedIn. So I wonder what those people use for Facebook, for Twitter, for, yeah. So weak passwords are the big issue. 2/3 of malware came via email, via attachments or via links, and 73% were financially motivated, so indicating this organized crime is really behind this. And when you deep into it further, and when we in IRIS analyze our data, these are the root causes that we see each year. It's poor passwords, it's missing patches. Gordon mentioned Equifax, that they're missing the Apache Struts patch. It's vulnerable platforms. It's people using out-of-date WordPress installations or Code Fusion installations or any other platforms that they haven't updated or kept upgraded. Windows XP, Windows 7, you saw WannaCry, NotPetya, everything else running rampant this year simply because systems weren't properly patched. Out-of-date antivirus software and lack of monitoring, which is going to be a bigger issue moving this time next year with GDPR and mandatory breach notification. You need to be monitoring what's going on. You need to know when you've had a breach, and you've got 72 hours to report it to the Data Protection Commissioner once you have had a breach. To me, one of the biggest failures we have as an industry is ransomware. It's the cool, sexiest thing out there now, ransomware, and every vendor is trying to sell you an anti-ransomware solution. Ransomware is just computer virus. That's all it is. You spent 25 years, 30 years trying to deal with computer viruses. Since I started in cybersecurity, we've been dealing with computer viruses, and still we're getting infected by computer viruses. Ransomware just happens to be in your face, looking for money really quickly, so therefore we're paying attention to it now. But as an industry, we have failed. As professionals, we are failing to protect our businesses against ransomware and RV viruses. To me, the big worry is not ransomware, because once you get hit by ransomware, you've known you've been hit by a virus. What about all the other viruses out there that are designed to be stealthy. So we're spotting ransomware, but are you spotting the credential stealing software? Are you spotting the financial motivated malware that is designed to be hidden on your machines and not to be discovered? So to me, that is one of our bigger worries. So, we are repeating the same things over and over and over again. So I was having a discussion at the Underground Economy Conference this year with Martin Rossler, head of the Trend Micro Forward Threat Research Team. And we're talking about this issue. And Martin actually made a very interesting comment to me. He says, we don't learn properly in cybersecurity. When there's a security breach, this is what we do as an industry. We mock the victims. I can't think of any other industry or any other part of our society where a victim of crime is made a laughing stock out of. If I leave the hotel here this evening and I get mugged outside, is that my fault? If I get robbed, if my house is burgled, is that my fault? Even if I leave the window open or leave my front door open, is it my fault? Should I be made a laughing stock out of? People we should be blaming for breaches are not the victims. It's the criminals behind the breaches. That's where we should be focusing our attention. And we should be focused on how those breaches happened and how we as an industry can prevent those breaches happening again. But we don't. We mock the victims. Yeah, Uber the other night. How many of you have had the situation where you've had all your data hacked and criminals saying to you, pay us money or your information is released? That's what criminals do. They are not nice people. That's who are attacking your network. They are not nice people. And by the way, I wouldn't pay criminals because, bit of a hint here, folks, you can't trust them. Criminals tend to be untrustworthy, okay? But we do mock. And that leads us to learn. We don't learn. We're afraid to take risks as individuals in the industry. So it's like learning a bike from a book. Many of you here can ride a bicycle. More of you can ride a bicycle than just all those hands. Come on, it's the morning. I'm trying to get your blood flowing, folks. How many of you can ride a bicycle? How many of you learned to ride a bicycle by falling off it? Yeah. How many of you learned to ride a bicycle by reading a book? By looking at a YouTube video? By going to a conference? None of us. We learn by mistakes. But we're afraid to learn by mistakes in our industry. And those of you who know me and, will mock me about, I tweet at all ridiculous hours, I send emails at different hours because just the way I work. And in the background, I have the TV on. And when I was thinking about this a few weeks ago, one of these programs came on. Air crash investigations. So by the way, how many of you flew to be here today? I know a few of you did. You may not want to watch the next few videos, folks, next few slides. So air crash investigations. They talk about different disasters that you have. What can go wrong when you get into an airplane? Right? In the air, on the ground. Airplanes aren't safe things when they go wrong. But if you do look at it, these are the number of air accidents over the years. Look at that slope. It's declining, right down to the modern day. So back in the mid-70s, you had... sorry, my eyesight's not you've fatal accidents per 1 million flights. So you had 4 fatal accidents per 1 million flights in the mid-1970s. It's down to less than 1. Okay? Because what we have in that industry, we've got professionals who will work through checklists, who will work through prescribed ways of doing things. But we don't learn that. We all have knowledge. Each of you, as a cybersecurity professional, probably knows how to configure a firewall or to do something. But who else knows how to do that in your organization or outside the organization? Have you shared that information with others? Take a security awareness. Every time you get in an airplane, you get a security awareness session. Not once a year, not an online video that you have to click next, yes, I'll watch that. You have to sit through it. They take your earphones off to make sure you listen to it. They have leaflets in the back of the seat so you pay attention to it. So you get reinforced every time you get in the airplane what to do if something goes wrong. And every time there's an accident, we learn from that accident. Air crash investigators go and examine what went wrong. They look at the black box. They publish what went wrong. They share with their peers and the industry and with the public what went wrong so we can learn. We don't do that in cybersecurity. We have a breach. We release as little information as possible, and we hope nobody pays any attention to us. And we move on. But I'm afraid that as an industry, we are in an unusual place now. We have a unique place in history. Our society and our infrastructure is changing. Many of you here have young children. So it's hands up again time, folks. So many of your kids want to be train drivers or pilots when they grow up. So those of you who do have kids who want to be pilots or train drivers or truck drivers, you're going to have to break their hearts and tell them in 10, 15 years' time, you probably won't have drivers in airplanes. You won't have pilots. You won't have train drivers. You won't have bus drivers. You won't have taxi drivers. You won't have drivers. It'll probably be illegal in 15, 20 years to drive a car. What we're going to do is sit in them and they're going to take us from one point to another. All controlled by computers. Our society, our infrastructure, all controlled by computers. This hotel, heat, lights, sound, video, all controlled by computers. Something goes wrong with computers, we have no power, we have no infrastructure. We see the realm of the military getting involved in cyber warfare. And what that means for us as professionals is that we are actually unwillingly, potentially on the battlefront. We don't have to ship to Syria or Afghanistan or Iraq to be involved in a war. We have to sit at our desks with a cup of coffee. And you could be warding away attackers depending on the business and the profile of your business. So cyber warfare is a big thing. But we are changing. Internet of Things is bringing many unique challenges to us as well. But we still have problems there. And as we've seen from the media, our society is changing. Elections are being undermined. They're being manipulated. There's talks about the US elections being manipulated, about Brexit being manipulated by outside parties. So that's all happening. We are becoming more dependent on all this. So we need to move away from looking at security from the old way of protect our boundaries and forget about everybody else. We need to move forward and think better as a community and as an industry and how we can protect everybody. Because we're not an island. No man stands alone. We're in this together. Because attackers now, if they can't attack a company directly, they're going to attack their supply chain. So you may think, well, I don't work for a big financial firm or a big manufacturing firm or a big pharmaceutical firm, so nobody's going to attack me. But you may work for a business that supplies one of those firms. And if I'm an attacker, I'm not going to go after the big target, I'll go after you. And use you as a way to break into who I want to do. So we're not islands, we have to work together. We have to share. And we talk about the Equifax breach, and this is a very interesting point there. You may see it on there, this is from the SEC report that Equifax had to submit. So we all know Equifax did not patch the vulnerability in Apache struts. And we all think, oh my God, why couldn't they patch? What did they do wrong? Well, if you read that, unfortunately, however, the scans did not identify the Apache struts vulnerability. Equifax's efforts undertaken in March 2017 did not identify any version of Apache struts that were subject to this vulnerability, and the vulnerability remained in an Equifax web application much longer than it should have. So, Equifax were doing vulnerability scans. They were doing patch management. They were doing all the things that we pointed fingers at them and laughed at them when they got breached, saying that they weren't doing properly. They were doing it. Now, how many of you here, after reading that, would love to know what vulnerability scanner were Equifax using? Is it the same vulnerability scanner you were using? Does that mean your vulnerability scanner didn't detect the Apache Struts vulnerability as well? Or was it because of the way they have it configured? So if we know what went wrong there, if we had a cyber investigations team, look, same way as air crash investigations team, maybe we can learn from them as to what went wrong and what we can do to prevent it happening again. So we need to work together. We need to air our dirty laundry. We need not to be ashamed of it. And that is going to change for us too. GDPR, May 2018. I know you're all sick of hearing GDPR. It's a 4-letter word now. But it's coming. There's going to be mandatory breach notifications. So we're going to have to share with the Data Protection Commissioner or the regulators what breach we had, what went wrong, and what we're going to do to fix it. You're going to have no choice. So we as professionals are going to have to earn each other's trust and work together so that we can work as a community to protect people's lives and protect people's information much better than we are doing now. So we need to share what we're doing. We need to work together. And that's not just with each other, but with law enforcement. We need to report crimes. How many of you have reported ransomware to An Garda Síochána? If you've been hit by ransomware, how many have you reported? One gentleman put his hands up. How many of you reported attempted CEO fraud? Or do we just go, oh, there's just another attempt to break into my business, I'll ignore it. If you turn up to your office tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock and discover there's a window smashed, do you ring the Gardaí to say somebody tried to break in? Or do you ignore it? Somebody tries to hack into your company. Do you report to the Gardaí so they know what's going on? Or do we ignore it? We need to work better together. So we need to stop being crazy, guys. I know it's fun. It's a crazy world, and that can be fun. But we need to be sane. And there's a few cyberpsychologists in the audience. I'm very careful when I'm talking about this. But we need to be sane and stop doing the crazy things. We need to work together. We need to be prepared because the future relies on what we do today. How we create our cybersecurity infrastructure today is laying the foundation for the lives of those of us, for those who come behind us. So hopefully that will give you a bit of an overview of kind of the theme we want to get out today, that this is a community event. We want you to mingle and network with each other, to share information, to talk to the vendors, get information from them, talk to the sponsors, to go in next door during the breaks to the Hacker Challenge and see what they're doing and how they're progressing and learn from them. But importantly, we need to work together, and hopefully today can be part of the start of that. So thank you and enjoy the rest of the day.